Next question, I'll take this one. It's from Amy, who says, as I'm taking in the news about the Trump indictment, I'm trying to game out what he might do. Will he turn himself in? Will he pull a Bolsonaro and leave the country? How do people like Trump historically respond to this sort of situation? Great question, and we're getting an idea of that today. He's doing what I expected, which is he's, going to New York and spending the night in Trump Tower. We've been asked this before about how much of a flight risk Trump is. I don't think he's that much of a flight risk for two reasons. One is him as an individual. This is somebody who is deeply, deeply uncomfortable on any kind of foreign terrain. And by foreign terrain, I mean any place outside of Trump Tower or Mar-a-Lago. He was deeply uncomfortable inside the White House. That's why he was constantly leaving. This is a creature of habit. This is a creature of routine who is incredibly paranoid, like any mafioso, like any aspiring dictator. And so he doesn't want to be in a place where he's going to be, worried about being assassinated and where he can't function, especially at his age. And so I assumed he would stay in the US. And the other reason I assumed that is because he has incredible confidence in his leverage over the federal government and the state government, that he will not actually face any meaningful consequences, even though he's committed a multitude of crimes. The reason he has that confidence is because he's been committing these crimes for 50 years. We are now on the 50th anniversary of the first time, I believe it's the Department of the Treasury, investigated Trump. They investigated Trump and his father for racist housing policies in their apartments in New York. So he has never been indicted before. He's never had to face consequences for anything, including, fomenting a coup, obstruction of justice, abuse of the pardon power. Basically, you saw it. I don't need to explain it again. Being a Kremlin asset. This crime in particular is so small, is so piddling and meaningless compared to the other atrocities he's committed, that even if he is convicted, I don't think he's actually going to serve time. I think at the most he'll pay some sort of fine, and then he'll use it for his martyr status and to try to get his followers to commit violent acts and honestly revel in it. He's always reveled in the Stormy Daniels case because it's the rare example of an attractive woman having sex with him voluntarily. The rest are rape, sexual assault, green card wives picked out by political advisors, that kind of thing. I honestly doubt the veracity of this relationship. I've had questions about this all along. This is not to impugn Stormy Daniels, who was threatened. Her child was threatened. We should all keep that in mind. But this isn't anything he should necessarily be scared of. And I'm going to get into this more in our regular weekly episode. But Eli Mistel wrote a great article for The Nation in which he notes that the statute of limitations on this particular crime ran out in 2021. We've been warning for a long time that the strategy of Trump and the GOP and the DOJ and the Vichy Democrats that enable them is to run out the clock and to let time pass. And this is not some abstract philosophy. There are actual statutes of limitations, and they have missed the window. So it's possible that the case might be dismissed, that he may be indicted, and then nothing happens there. If he was being indicted for something serious, for his organized crime activities, for his sedition, etc., then I would wonder whether, things would change, whether he would, weigh these risks and his desires for comfort and want to flee. My guess until recently would have been Israel, but they're in too much political turmoil, as is Russia, maybe to Saudi Arabia. I don't know. As of now, though, I am quite confident he's going to stay here, and then he's just going to make this into an OJ style reality TV show in which he plays, the strongman martyr, which is what he's always done.
All right. The next question is from Amy. Speaking of national divorces, on March 18th, the New York Times ran an article about the Greater Idaho Secessionist Movement. And as an Oregonian who grew up in rural Eastern Oregon, but lives in Portland, I have a ton of very angry opinions on it. But my question is just, does our media want a civil war? Of course they do, because they want to keep non-white people and generally anyone who's working for greater human rights, civil rights, greater fairness and equality and accountability, including economic, social justice. They want to keep them in check. And the way you keep them in check is you fan the flames of these culture wars that serve not only as distractions, but as threats against you. And they basically make us seem more divided and everything more hostile and dangerous and just play on your fears. And plus, it's sensationalized and they want to get those page views for the ad money and so on. So yeah, of course the media does. And wars, the yellow journalism that really built the newspaper, that built up the leading newspapers of the day, Pulitzer, Hearst. For those that don't study the history of those men, these were yellow journalists that fanned the flames of a war because wars sell papers. If it bleeds, it leads.